Okay, so we're going to go through and talk about contour lines. The most basic way to think about contour lines is that they are the outside edge of an object. Okay, so if you look at the definition, it is defined as the outside of a form as well as the interior structure without the use of shading. So if you were to look at this teddy bear over here, and I'll explain in a second why it is a very primitive drawing of a teddy bear. The outside edge would be this line that divides the object from the background. That is a contour line. It also includes the contour line um, of each individual feature that is drawn on the teddy bear. So this line of the mouth, the line around the cheek, the line inside the ear, those are all contour lines because they are building up the basic outline of this object. Now, contour lines are one of the fundamental basic things that you need to know about art because it is the first things you learn as a child when you're learning how to draw different objects. You will learn to draw their contour lines, which is their outlines. So if you can distinguish where that object is from the background, then you can draw the object. So this is the way that we learn to draw. We learn to draw the outside edge of something, and then we would go back in and draw it further. So after contour lines would come the inside details, and then would come shading or coloring. But first you'd have to have the outline. So that's where we start. So in an art class, if you do a contour drawing, that means you're going to draw an object very carefully looking at it and what it actually looks like, and draw along the edges. Now remember I said what it actually looks like. We have already covered the no-nos of art, so you want to try to get away from general assumptions of what something looks like and instead look at the object as it is existing in front of you. For an example, this hammer. We have an idea of what a hammer looks like in our head, but when you look at one really close, you'll notice there's more details to it than the image that probably popped up in our head. So, when you're drawing a contour drawing, you will have to also include little details such as the edges of the object, any little extra things that make it what it is. Okay, let's jump back in here. I had to pause for just a second. So you're having to draw in any of these extra details that show the object as three-dimensional. You might have to add in some details if there's like a brand name or a divot in the material where it was damaged somehow. All those little things that make that object what it really looks like would be included in a contour drawing. You're just not going back in and shading any areas of it. Now, sometimes you will see where an artist will do the outside, the very outside edge, a little thicker of a line, but it is still not the same as going back in and adding value to one part over the other. Okay, so your assignment for this project will be to choose 5 objects. You can choose more if you wish, but 5 is a good number, especially for the paper size that you have to start with. So find 5 objects around your house. They can be something that would commonly be on your desk, which is what I've chosen. Some art supplies, or you could look around your house, for example, in your bathroom. If you go look in your bathroom cabinet or drawer, you might find 5 things that are fairly small you could draw all together. Like you could have your toothbrush, some floss, um, any other little objects that you would have in your bathroom drawer. Or you could go to your kitchen, look around there and find something such as silverware or cooking utensils or a cup. Um, those are just good places to kind of start with finding basic objects. Just remember, you're going to have to draw the object outline and its basic features. So if you choose something that's very complicated, you're going to have a lot more inside lines to draw. Now, that said, if you want to choose something like toys or collectibles or objects that define you more so, like game controllers or shoes, they always make really awesome contour drawings, but consider how many different things you're drawing. Because I'm asking you to draw 5. So if you're drawing something like a shoe that has all the shoelaces and stitching inside of it, you might want to also throw in some other objects that are a little simpler, such as socks or um, a pencil or something that doesn't have nearly as many lines as a shoe would. Okay, so choose 5 objects. Then you're going to draw them using contour lines for the outside, as well as coming in and looking at the main feature areas, meaning like here's the outside of the scissors, but you're also going to come back in and do the pivot point, as well as the inside where the finger would go into the scissors and things like the brand name. And then I always ask students to go back and make the outside lines slightly thicker than the inside lines, meaning that you can clearly see this pencil outline even if you were 10 feet back from this drawing, but you might not be able to see these tiny inside detail lines as easily. So to start, select your 5 objects. This one I even have 6 because I wasn't paying attention and I grabbed 2 different pencils. I grabbed a pencil and a Sharpie. So I have a mug, a paintbrush, scissors, a bottle of paint, Sharpie, and a pencil. So I have at least 5 objects. Then I drew them using the contour idea of looking at the outside and just drawing what I saw. So I drew the mug, and then I'll come over here and drew this paintbrush coming down. Then I went back and drew the scissors, trying to include where I noticed that there were changes. I went really slow because drawing scissors is kind of tricky because they kind of curve in and out right here where they're smooth, rounded edges, and trying to get this little edge along the scissors. So it does take a little time. Pace yourself. Don't feel like you have to rush through it, um, because in the end, if you can do it nice and slow, you'll have a really nice drawing. Okay, so I had to edit this photo too so you could actually see it because it was a really light pencil outline. Feel free to use pencils at the beginning. Do not feel like you have to start with a Sharpie, but after I got everything where I wanted it, I went back in with a Sharpie and I made the edges a little more bold, and I used a black pen, just a regular ballpoint pen, to go in and add some of the smaller lines that I didn't want to be as bold. I also went back and erased all of my extra pencil marks, meaning that I had a few smudgy spots in here that I went back and erased. And I did have this little flaw that where my marker accidentally marked as I was moving it off my paper. So that's okay. It kind of makes it an interesting piece down here. Don't feel like a piece is lost if you have bonus marks on it. All right, so that was this project. It's kind of a quick project. Let me get this to go away down here at the bottom. I just want you to note that after you get done with this project, do not just toss it or throw it away. Save it. We're going to be using this same outline. So whatever objects you outline and do your contour drawing of, we're going to use it in a month or so. Later on, we're working on color. And if you lose it, you're going to have to redraw the same objects because we're going to kind of go back to this idea of contour and coming back in and filling these objects with certain color schemes. But for now, we're going to leave it as a black and white contour drawing. Alrighty, let me click over here and show you my um, camera so that you can see what I saw as I was drawing. So I had my objects laying here. They have since shifted a little bit, but I can go back in and show you a little bit more of how I started my drawing. So here's this finished one that I just showed you guys. I will only draw one object for time's sake, but you're going to choose an object to start with, just like you will, and you're going to work on drawing that object's main shape. So I know that this coffee cup has a big silver lip on it, so I have that on there. And I know it has a curved up bottom like this. See its handle comes straight out and then curves back in. I'm going to do the same thing right here. Then I see that there's this area inside that handle, so I'm going to come back in and try to draw that in. It has this sunglasses design on it, which I have drawn this mug several times. So I kind of know how these sunglasses end up being. This mug is one that is in my still life bin. meaning that I keep a pile of objects for students to draw in case they don't have any. Um, so I've drawn it a couple different times. There's the sunglass design basically. I'm going to come back and make that side thicker. I'm seeing a huge reflection on there, as are you guys, on this camera view right here where you see the reflection going up the cup. And then, due to some reckless use by students in the theater group one time, this cup had a little incident where part of the enamel has chipped off. So I see that, and then there's a couple other highlights right through here, and done. So this is in pencil. Then I'm going to come back in and use an ink pen. I'm not going to use all of the spots for the ink pen, but just where I know that I'm not definitely going to use a Sharpie maybe. Because those areas will not have to be as bold as the outside edge. But I'm going back over my pencil with some of that. Then I'm going to come back over my Sharpie pretty quick here and start going over the big areas of contour. Let's see. I do like that this has like a reflective edge in the center, so I'm going to try to draw some of that. And this is a really quick version of your project. And with these Sharpies, remember, even if you don't have an ink pen, you can get different sizes. With your marker, you just need to take it, press really hard if you want it to be wide, and lay the marker on its side, sort of. And if you want it to be really skinny, turn it almost perpendicular, like 90 degrees, and really lightly drag it across there to get smaller lines. Alright, that's basically it. You're going to do the same thing, but with 5 different objects. And then turn it in. Good luck, guys.